If we can start the meeting with the election of the chair. Councillors, is there a nomination for chair?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Councillor Banks.
And is that seconded? Yeah. Thank you. So Councillor Banks is in the chair.
Thank you. Item 2, members' interests. Do members have any interest that they wish to declare? Thank you. Welcome to the meeting. I am Councillor Banks, Chair of the Licence Subcommittee hearing. Before we start, I would like to remind you of a few housekeeping arrangements. If you wish to speak, please can you indicate that you wish to do so. The whole of the meeting will be filmed, except where there are confidential or exempt items. Thank you. In the room with me here at Pathfinder House are the following: Councillor Griswold, Councillor Jordan, and members of the subcommittee. Ian Hawkins, the Council Legal Advisor, and Democratic Services. I will now ask officers from the licensing team to introduce themselves. Thank you.
I'm Sarah Marden. I'm the Licensing Officer for Huntingdonshire District Council.
Good afternoon all, I'm the Licensing Manager, Michelle Bishop.
With those representing the applicant, please now introduce themselves. Please state your name and what capacity you are here to represent the applicant. Yes, sorry.
Thank you very much. My name is Piers Warne from TLT Solicitors. That's Piers Warne. Sorry if you want to make a note. From TLT Solicitors, and I'm representing the applicant here today.
Hi everybody, I'm Robert Hayes, the Licensing Manager for Iceland Foods, who is the applicant in this application.
Thank you. The Licensing Subcommittee procedure, you would have received within the hearing papers that were circulated to you a copy of the Licensing Subcommittee procedure. The hearing will commence under this procedure. Any representations that have been made should be relevant to the 4 licensing objectives, which are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. As you will see, in the interests of fairness, the procedure provides for an equal amount of time for the applicant and responsible authorities and interested parties, 20 minutes. Do any parties present have any questions or clarifications at this stage? They should relate to the procedure only. Thank you. Item 5, the hearing. I will now invite the licensing officer to present the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Okay. So Huntingdonshire District Council, as the licensing authority, has received an application for a premises licence from Iceland Foods Limited for the premises at Unit 3 Stukely Road Retail Park in Huntingdon. The application was received on the 14th of July 2025, as required under the Licensing Act 2003. Notice of the application was advertised by blue notices displayed at or near the premises from the 15th of July 2025 and in the local newspaper on the 23rd of July 2025. The 28-day consultation period ended on the 11th of August 2025. A copy of the application in its entirety is Appendix A in your packs, and the plan accompanying the application is Appendix B. The application is applying to permit the activity of the sale of alcohol by retail for consumption off the premises from Monday to Sunday from midnight until 23:59, effectively a 24-hour licence. And the opening hours of the premises will be the same, Monday to Sunday, midnight till 23:59. Section 18 of the application form addresses the 4 licensing objectives. Any proposals made in this section are normally translated directly into enforceable conditions that will be attached to the license, to the premises license. As part of the consultation, the responsible authorities, as determined under the Licensing Act, were consulted on the application. On this occasion, there were no representations made against the application from responsible authorities. During the period of representations, a total of 1 representation was received from other persons, and this representation is attached as Appendix C in your packs. A person who has submitted a relevant representation is entitled to address the licensing subcommittee at the hearing and ask questions of any other party appearing at the hearing. Not all matters raised within the representation may be relevant matters for consideration under the Licensing Act. In this case, mediation was attempted. In summary, the applicant proposed to amend the times of the activity of the sale of alcohol for consumption off the premises to 7 a.m. until 2300 each day. The interested party did not accept this amendment, and their representation still stands. The full correspondence in relation to the mediation can be seen as Appendix D1 and D2. The Licensing Authority must carry out its function under the Licensing Act with a view to promoting the licensing objectives. Each objective has equal importance. The licensing objectives are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance, and protection of children from harm. The Licensing Subcommittee must also have regard to our Statement of Licensing Policy, any statutory guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003, the Human Rights Act 1988, and the Live Music Act 2012. The Council must also fulfil its obligations under Section 17 of the Crime and Disorder Act 1998 to do all that it reasonably can to prevent crime and disorder in the district. In making its determination, this application must be determined on its own merits, having regard to the representations and supporting documents included as part of this report, along with additional information considered relevant at the hearing. As part of the decision process, the subcommittee is required to give its reasons for any decision arrived at. Where the licensing authority considers the action under the statutory powers is appropriate, it may take the following steps: to grant the application as applied for, refuse the application, add additional conditions to the premises licence, or exclude any licensable activities applied for. Any decision made by the licensing subcommittee must be reasonable and proportionate and promote the licensing objectives. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Do any members of the subcommittee have any questions for the licensing officer?
This is just for clarification, because the police didn't make any representation, so there is no known antisocial behaviour in that area that is known of. It's just for clarification.
No, the police haven't made a representation. They didn't make any comment at all. So at the moment, I have no data to be able to give you on that score. Okay.
Thank you for that. For not more than 20 minutes, and to call any witnesses if relevant. Thank you.
Chair, firstly, you'll be pleased to hear I will not be going on for the full 20 minutes, so hopefully I can give us all back some time. Secondly, I always get slightly disturbed seeing myself on a big screen behind people, and I'm starting to wonder if I need to get hair and makeup for licensing hearings nowadays because they're all on YouTube, so that might be something that we'll need to consider in the future. The application, and Sarah's done a lot of the work for me, so thank you very much. You can find at page 9 of your report. It is a 24-hour license for off sales, so as you'll be aware, with the application being in the name of Iceland, the very well-known retailer, this is from their food warehouse offer, which is, they've got over 194 of these larger food warehouse offers out of not far shy of 1,000 premises around the country. So in terms of experience of operating, you're looking at one of the main. It's also worth noting that Iceland are ranked in the Sunday Times list of best large employers in the country. So they do look after their staff quite well. The food warehouse offer, if you like, is predicated around what you'd expect for a big kind of food, large food offer. They actually sort of pride themselves on wider aisles, trying to make the experience a bit calmer, a little less sort of frenetic than some of the big supermarkets. Fresh produce, unsurprisingly for Iceland, a very good frozen produce range. Big pack options, so cater for larger families, cater for small local businesses as well. And they do homeware and seasonal items as well. So it's quite a big offer, but predominantly it's food, as the name would suggest. It's part of the Stukely Park Stukely Road Retail Park, and I'm taking Sarah's pronunciation there because I did speak to Rob earlier and say, am I going to pronounce this right or wrong? So I hope I've got that right. There is lots of parking around the site. If you know the retail park, there's sort of parking on one side and round the corner as well. And it's separated from the nearest residential premises by the B1044, which is quite a large road. And then at the back, you'll know there's the railway line that runs along the back. So the retail park, if you like, sort of sits in that triangle there. There is one representation here, which you'll find, and I'll refer to it later on, it's at page 33, but I will ask you to give significant weight to, when you come to deliberate this matter, to the fact that none of the responsible authorities have made any representations, which is a point obviously Councillor Jordan sort of raised in terms of the police. Had they have had concerns about this proposal, they clearly would have had the opportunity to look at the statistics, determine whether they needed to be here or not. You also have seen, and Sarah referred to it, we did try and mediate with the gentleman, Mr. Flower, who made the representation. We did make an offer to try and resolve matters for him. He, as is perfectly entitled to do, said no, so we're back asking for the original application. So we're not asking for the mediated one. That was to try and resolve matters if we could, but actually we would like to go for the 24 hours, please. And that's our position as it was when we made it. He says the retail park's not an appropriate location for such operations. I argue retail parks are exactly the right kind of place for these kind of premises. Surrounded by residential properties. Well, actually, a lot of the residential properties you'll know are over the main road, and there's a big estate there, and then there's some over the other side of the railway line and away from the premises. He mentions Stukely Meadows Primary School. Well, that sits behind his house, so sits away from the premises, sort of further away from the premises. You'd have to cross the main road to get into the retail park from the school. There are other retailers much closer to the school as well, so I don't quite understand the concerns that he might have there directly relating to the school. You will be pleased to hear, of course, as a major retailer, they have very, very good training for staff on underage sales. Till prompts, electronic refusals logs, all the things that you would want from a large retailer, and those indeed have been offered as conditions you'll have seen in the application. And so I think we cover that quite in some detail in the application, but also sort of in terms of the offer more generally. He does go on to suggest there'll be antisocial behaviour. Well, there's no evidence to suggest that would occur, and as Councillor Jordan pointed out, the police don't raise any rep in relation to that. And then his final point is around public nuisance from traffic. Well, it is a retail park, so it's designed for people to drive there and park at the retail park. Some of the units close earlier in the day and evening, which actually frees up space later in the evening for more parking for people who might come to the food warehouse. So we don't see that there would be any issues with people parking at the site. Now, of course, if there were any antisocial behaviour, one could imagine, people parking on retail park, listening to music loud, things like that. You'll be pleased to note, and no doubt you did, that in the application there's a condition for a complaints procedure. So if Mr. Flower or any of his residents happen to find that there are any issues, may not be associated directly with Food Warehouse, but there is a complaints procedure, and that would include being able to phone Iceland. That would be investigated by Rob and his team, and they would draw their conclusions and go back to the residents as necessary. That, Chair, in essence is 5 minutes out of 15, not bad. Our submissions today, I do have a few comments for summing up, but perhaps I'd invite you to ask any questions now and leave that till after.
Thank you. Now I'll ask, do any members of the subcommittee have any questions for the applicant?
Sorry, Pat. Obviously, one of the things the resident was worried about was not just late night vehicle activity, but deliveries. Do you have late deliveries with large vehicles? Or are they done predominantly during the day? Just for clarification.
Apologies. No, so for HGV deliveries, they're usually during the daytime, typically after 7 in the morning, and usually, I would say, sort of before 9 o'clock in the evening. So it's usually even earlier than that.
Thank you, Councillor. Do any officers present, licensing or the council legal representative have any questions for the applicant?
Just one quick one. Did you just say that the conditions which you enclosed with the submission here includes a condition regarding your complaints procedure? Because I can't quite see it. I think you've got 21. I mean, it might be separate, but
It's at page 22, under the prevention of public nuisance. A complaints procedure shall be in operation at the premises and made available at the store. It's
which one is that? Sorry.
page
Oh, yeah.
22 under
Yeah.
D.
Okay, thank you very much. Cheers.
So we'll move on to D. I will now invite interested parties to address the subcommittee for no more than 20 minutes in total. May I remind you that representations must be relevant to the 4 licensing objectives. So there's no interested parties, no. Do any members of the subcommittee have any questions? I don't have any, no. Do any officers present, licensing or the council legal representative have any questions? Thank you. Does the applicant or his representatives have any questions? Thank you. Right, so we move on now. To E, may I now invite the applicant or his representative to sum up the application for a period of no longer than 5 minutes. Please do not introduce any new evidence at these proceedings. Thank you.
I think probably 1 minute should be enough. Paragraph 10.15 of the guidance, section 182 guidance at page 86, in case your legal officer wants to, you want to see it in person, says, shops, stores and supermarkets should normally be free to provide sales of alcohol for consumption off the premises at any times when the retail outlet is open for shopping, unless there's good reason based on the licensing objectives for restricting the hours. So that, if you like, is the fundamental platform from where we're dealing with today. And I'd also remind you, paragraph 9.12 at page 77 says that your responsible authorities are your experts on the matters relevant to them. So the police towards policing crime and disorder, EHO towards noise nuisance. So again, I'd remind you, it's my submission. You can take the fact they're not here to be a strong indication that they have no concerns with this application before you. Your own policy at paragraph 10.5 talks about greater choice and flexibility for customers. You'll appreciate we may not open 24 hours, but if there's a need or a desire, then actually it's very useful to be able to provide that. People lead sort of very different lives from even not that long ago in terms of working patterns when people can go out. People who have are nervous about shopping when lots of people are around actually find late night premises are really useful if they can go there, because obviously there's fewer people and they feel much more comfortable. So we're not saying we will open 24 hours, but it gives us the opportunity, if there's a desire to do so for customers. So I would submit you can grant this application on the basis of the promotion of the 4 objectives. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we move on,
Sorry, Chairman, I just wanted to clarify and make very clear that all three of the subcommittee have considered the written representations, which I think is important to note because obviously the objector isn't here. So, you know, we are very cognizant of what their objection is, and we've read the written report, Chairman.
Yes, thank you very much for that, Councillor. So before we move on to item 6, exclusion of the press and public, the subcommittee will now retire to deliberate. The council's legal advisor will provide legal advice and to record the subcommittee's decision. We are unclear how long the deliberations will take. Our decision will be sent out to you, all in writing, as soon as possible. If you do want to wait around, you are welcome to do so. The choice is yours. All parties do have a right of appeal to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days of the decision. Anthony, is there anything else you wish to add?
No, that's fine, thanks.
Thank you very much. So now we will retire. Thank you very much.